As an immigration consultants for students, what services you provide?
We provide the guidance of looking for the right schools. However, we don't look for the schools. We don't work for the schools. We tell you, okay, if you need a study permit, you need to find the right college or university or school that you want to go to, find the course you want to take. And then once we zero in on that, we make sure that that college you have chosen qualifies for what we like you to get is the postgraduate open work permit, because that would be the next step towards permanent residency. So we need to make sure that what you're taking and the school you're taking it will qualify for this, unless you're just interested in coming to study and go back home. But once you have chosen your school, then you need to get your acceptance letter, and then we can take it from there and help you apply for the study permit.
So all the students, they have to first apply by themselves and get the acceptance from the college or the university.
Correct.
And then when they want to apply for a study permit, you can help them.
Correct.
So usually I try to narrow it down. Where would you like to be in Canada? Which province do you want to go to? And then I tell them, okay, if you want to go study because tuition fees are very high if you are a foreign student, I usually advise them, okay, look for something that you're interested in and that you can picture yourself building a career once you graduate, right? So, and then that kind of like narrows it down a little bit. And then I use my experience that I have. For example, like I have a lady right now who wanted to come to Edmonton. Things didn't work out her way, so now I just suggested to her studying would be an option, but obviously you have to have the money to do it, right? So she's like, okay, what should I study? And I'm like, okay, this is a school where I know they're not the cheapest, but they're also not the most expensive. And then I tell her, make sure it is a postgraduate, it's a post-secondary course that you are allowed, because foreign students in Canada, they're allowed to work. If they take certain courses, they're allowed to work during their studies, 20 hours per week during school session, and then full-time in their scheduled breaks. Yeah. So that also gives you the ability to make up for all that tuition money you have to pay. The spouses that will accompany the foreign student, they will get open work permits. Take a 1-year certificate program, you will get a 1-year open work permit after, post-graduation work permit after. If you take a 2-year program, you will be able to get a 3-year open work permit, which will give you more time to figure out the path you want to take for immigration, right? So
some people, they think if they find, let's say, an English language course here in Canada, they can stay and work and apply for any other type of PR programs, but is that true?
No, that's not true. With English as a second language, all you can really do is study English and improve your English. That's it. You will not be allowed to work. Your spouse will still get an open work permit if he or she comes with you to Canada, but it will not help you towards immigration unless you take the English to then sign up for another post-secondary program.
So no English courses
will allow you to work.
Yes, will allow you to work.
No, you will not be allowed to work if you take English or French as a second language. No.
And can international students, when they study here at universities or college, can they bring their family with them while they are studying?
Yes, absolutely. So the spouses, like I said, they get open work permits for the same duration as the study permit. Okay. And if they have dependent children, the children are allowed to attend elementary and secondary school here in Canada while their parents are here studying and working.
Without having to pay tuition for the children. Only the person.
That's great.
Only the person studying at the academic level has to pay the tuition, but like we said, the spouse gets a work permit and the children get to go to school without having to pay their tuition.
Does it apply for college or just universities?
Oh, any post-secondary education. So that includes universities, colleges. And also another nice thing about it is that when you come as a student or when you come as a student with your spouse and family, here in Alberta, for example, is that you qualify for Alberta healthcare from the day you arrive. Most other provinces, when you go study in their provinces, they'll have a waiting period of about 3 months, but you still qualify to have healthcare from that province when you're here on a study permit or work permit, including dependent children. So we apply for the study permit for the person who's going to study, apply for the open work permit for the spouse, the accompanying spouse, and the visitor's permits or study permits for the children to apply, because it all needs to be done for most countries. Actually, you have to apply from any country in the world. You need to apply for your study permit before you come to Canada.
And if someone is from another country, let's say someone from Iraq is living in Europe, one of the Europe countries, he or she is a refugee, can they apply for refugee protection here, or can they just apply for PR in Canada, or because since they live in a safe country they can't?
I don't know too much about refugees, but the general rule is that you have to apply for refugee status in the first safe country. If they are already refugees in let's say Germany, and they have lived there, and they are basically, I'm assuming they would also become permanent residents of Germany once the whole refugee process is completed. I don't see why they should not be able to immigrate as, let's say, skilled worker to Canada, right?
Yeah, because they have a profession, they have the language ability, they qualify through the express entry program.
I don't think they would be able to apply for refugee status in Canada.
Yeah, if they're already safe in the country where they are.
Yeah.
And if I applied for express entry and I got rejected the first time, can I apply second time?
Yes. Yes.
If I improved my language?
Well, let me explain this. Express entry is it's all about the points, right? But when you put your profile in the express entry, you will have the profile active for 1 year. So let's say you got okay marks in your English exam, enough to qualify, but not too high, and it would be in your best interest to maybe do a new English exam, and if you get higher points, we can always update the profile. That will boost your points up, so that you have better chances to get invited under the express entry program.
Express entry, they do rounds of invitations every 2 weeks. We're somewhere between 450 and 470 points, or even higher, out of a possible 1,200 points. So if I have somebody who, let's say, they do the English exam, they get the education credential assessment, and that person has, let's say, 440 points, I tell them, okay, you need to go back and you need to improve your English, and maybe sometimes it's only half a point they need to do better, because then that gives them another whole set of points somewhere else. And I go into detail when I do a consultation. I explain it to my clients how the whole point system works, because now I'm telling you 470 points and you don't know what that means, right? It's like, okay, how am I going to get 470 points? So when I do a consultation, I get into that in more detail. A lot of people have the problem, they lose a lot of points for age, because if you are 45, if you're 45 or older, you get 0 points. So a lot of people, they have good language, they have a high level of education, they have work experience, but they lose 100 points for a married person would lose 100 points for age. A single person loses 110 points for age, which is a lot. So then I tell them, okay, then we need to look into other options to maybe see if we can bring them on a temporary basis first, as a worker or as a student, or if there's any other ways that we could bring them in, right? Because some people, they say, no, we don't want to come on a temporary basis because it's too risky, right? I don't want to leave everything behind and then come on a study permit or come on a work permit and then
not getting the permanent
don't
residency.
know if I'm going to get the permanent residency or not. The other thing is getting temporary visas or like a study permit or work permit or even a visitor visa from certain countries is just really, really hard, because the officers processing the application, it's up to their discretion. And most of the times a visa gets or a permit gets refused is that the officer is not convinced that this person is going to go back to their home country. For the refusal. And then they say financial, not enough finances. But I've had a lady that had like over $35,000 in the bank, and she just wanted to come for a 3-week visit, and they still said no. You can reapply, like you can see, okay, what are the reasons for the refusal, and then you address whatever the reasons were, but it could still get refused again. It's just really hard to convince the officer that this person is really gonna go back.
That I forgot to ask, all the express entry categories you have to pay during the process when you apply, right? They have fees?
Yes, so once putting your profile into the express entry pool, let's say somebody does it themselves and they don't hire an immigration consultant, enter the profile into the pool, that doesn't cost anything. Like Carla explained before, the profile is valid for 1 year. During that year, you can always go back in there, make changes. And then once you receive an invitation to apply, so for example, an applicant enters the profile into the pool, a couple of things happen. Once you enter the profile into the pool, it will calculate your score, so you will know how many points you have. And then also when you complete the profile, it asks you which province do you want to go to. So you can check all the boxes, but you have to be aware that if you get, because once the profile is in the pool, the provinces and Canadian employers have access to that person's profile. So if a province sees a certain applicant with certain qualifications, work experience, education, they could contact the person and say, okay, this is British Columbia, and we would like to nominate you, for example. So that profile is opened to certain to the provinces and the territories, and also to certain employers. So once the profile is in the pool, you also get a letter where it asks you to set up a job bank profile, so that the employers they can look at you, and if they're interested, they can extend an invitation that they want to hire you, which will be beneficial for your permanent residency process.
Because they'll give you more points.
So once you receive an invitation to apply from Immigration Canada, you get right now you get 90 days to submit all of your supporting documentation. So then you have to get the medicals, you have to prove your work experience, you have to do criminal record checks, and once you have all the documentation together, you upload everything in your express entry profile, and then you submit the application. That's when you have to pay application fees. For the adults, for the principal applicant, and if there is a spouse, the application fee is $825 per adult. The application fee for the kids is $225 per child, and then a fee called Right of Permanent Residence fee, which is $500 now. Per adult. Yeah. The kids don't have to pay that fee, only the adults. They will request you either pay everything together, so the application fee and Right of Permanent Residency fee when you submit your application, or you just pay the application fees and then you pay Right of Permanent Residency fee later once it's requested by Immigration Canada.
Don't forget there's also the biometrics.
Yes.
There are mandatories, $85 per adult. So if you have a husband, wife, and 2 children, but one of them is 14, then it's 3 biometrics, but you only pay for 2.
And there's a family rate of $170. Yeah, and they have to do them when they apply for a temporary permit. They have to do them, and then once the ones for temporary, they are valid for 10 years. So if you do them once, then that's it for the next 10 years. But if you apply for permanent residency, you have to do them all over again. And sometimes it's a problem because when you're outside of Canada, you have to go to what is called a visa application center to do the biometrics. So right now with COVID, a lot of them are still closed, and then certain countries do not have visa application centers, so that then they would have to travel to another country, make sure that they're allowed to enter that specific country to be able to give biometrics.
And one thing else is that your service fees are different. So if someone applies through you as a consultant, you have different charges for them, right?
Correct. So we charge our service fee plus the government fees for whatever application we're doing for them, either temporary visas like study permits, work permits, visitor permits, or permanent residency, provincial nominations. Depending on which category you're applying, we charge for our services plus whatever government fees you need to pay. There's other disbursements to think of as well. There's cost for translation of documentation because everything that is not in English or in French needs to be translated by a certified translator. Courier services sometimes play a role. A medical exam also is over and above all those costs. Probably certification of documentation as well, like by a notary or somebody like that. Those are the little things that one has to think about that add up to the whole experience.
I think we are done for today. Thank you so much for you ladies.
You're very welcome.
Any last points you want to clear out for your viewers?
I can't think of anything right now. I think we touched a lot of topics, which is very good. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot of more questions, so you're more than welcome to contact us. And our information is on the website.
And I'll make sure to post your address on
please.
all my social media platforms.
Yay.
And also, I wanted to let you know, guys, they speak English, Spanish, and German. They don't have any Arabic translator for now, but if you want to contact them, you can send them email in English.
Yes.
And
Or German or Spanish.
or German or Spanish. Okay, thank you so much, ladies.
Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much.
Have a